What's up YouTube, Doa here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you an update and probably in my opinion the more competitive approach for Lunalight. Now Lunalight is a deck that's kind of drifted a little bit from the competitive scene just for the pure fact of the introduction of the brand new Justice Hunters decks. Now when you're looking at Lunalights and how they kind of get influenced by the Justice Hunter style decks, you're kind of looking at cards like the Canines. You're always going to be triggering them. You're always going to be using card effects in the graveyard. Sometimes you'll be using card effects in the hand, especially with Black Sheep as well. So they're always going to be lice. You need to be able to counteract with them. Another point with the Lunalights is that they have a direct out goal. When they get to that out goal, I personally feel it would be nearly impossible for them to lose that duel because you're trying to get into a towers. A Lunalight Liger Dancer that basically says it's unaffected by everything except Lunalight cards and is constantly being able to quick effect destroy the entire field is really, really important and has a very good matchup against all other decks around. The issue is getting there. So what I've done with this particular build is I've tailored it a little bit more to focus on that one. And then as I've talked to other Lunalight players, I kind of said like, why have you dropped the deck? Why have you moved away from it? And most of them were saying, well, with decks like this, Vanquish Soul, Canines and everything else, they play during your turn. So you need to be a little bit more resilient. That being said as well, is that if they out your first Liger Dancer, you then don't get the ability to really kind of come back into the game. So what I'm going to show you at the end of the video as well is I'll also show you a combo that gets you 2 Liger Dancers because I feel that that's what you're trying to aim for. If they can out the first one with a Kaiju, they won't be able to out the second one and you're still going to be able to win that duel. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe to miss out on any more upcoming content. So starting off with your ideal starter of the entire deck being your free Lunalight Gold Leo. This card is just an insane addition to the deck. As I haven't done a Lunalight profile on the video, I will take you through each of the card effects themselves. So on normal or special, you get to add a Lunalight monster from the deck to the hand except itself. Then you discard a card. If a Lunalight monster or monster is sent to your graveyard while this card is in the monster zone, even during the damage step, you get to target one of them and then add it back to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. So the idea is you get to add a Lunalight card, discard the card, add it back. So it's kind of like this little ongoing circle. I'm actually going to save this one for later because it's technically not a Lunalight monster. And then of course we do play free Black Sheep. Now you don't have to play free Black Sheep. Some people do play 2. Now what I was kind of finding throughout testing is that Droll is a bit of a pain. Now that's less so of a massive issue because some people are putting Droll to the side there, but that might come back into the fold depending how we look on it, for the pure fact that Yummies don't really care that much about it, Canines don't really care that much about it. The only one that will probably care a little bit about it is the Dracotals, and even then the way that the Dracotals work is they'll be able to play during your turn as well, so it's kind of not the end all be all when you're looking at a Draw and Lockbird. So that's something you might need to consider going second, and like going into game 2 and 3, and that's where you might want to take down a Lunalight Black Sheep. But I always found that the most important thing throughout this entire deck was to get access to your polymerization, and once you've got that in rotation you can start to add it back from the graveyard and then you start playing around Droll. 2 Kaleido Chick, I think 2 is more than enough. I wouldn't play at 1, I still think 2 is really good because if you do see it, you can usually get access to your Gold Leo through the deck without even needing to use your normal summon. So being able to use your normal summon on Kaleido Chick, the fact that it's not a hard once per turn, you just go cool, Kaleido Chick, send, copy. Link it off, Kaleido Chick, send, copy, and it just lets you go round and round and round and round, and that's just going to give you everything you need. Then got 2 of the Silverhound. This card again was just a great addition to the deck. So if it's sent to the graveyard by card effect, you get to special summon a Lunalight monster from the deck except itself. You can't special summon from the extra deck except Lunalight monsters while you control that particular face-up monster. When a spell, trap, or card effect is activated, you get a quick effect to banish this card and a Lunalight fusion monster from the graveyard to negate the activation. So again, it's a really kind of cool graveyard interruption that not a lot of people will remember, like when they're facing you. So it's one of them surprise factors that you can be like, got ya. And then on the 1 Yellow Martin and the 1 Emerald Bird, followed up by the 1 Wolf and the 1 Tiger. I feel like 1s are more than enough with these ones. You don't really need to go too crazy with them. The only one that I would consider putting 2 up will probably be Yellow Martin. But again, the idea between all of this is that your Tiger is insane. You're going to bounce it back like once, twice, and maybe even 3 times, and then utilize its effect 3 to 4 times, which is crazy. But then, of course, you've also got Martin, which gives you the facility to return the Tiger from the field to the hand. Use it again, bring back another body, open up some rank 4 plays, you name it. Then the honorary Lunalight card is the Tri-Brigade Fractal. Now, I'm probably going to be leaning more into playing this at a higher value, just for the pure fact that I want to be focusing on a double Liger Dancer. Now, you would really need to read the matchup that you're in. And what I mean by that is you would read the matchup to feel, do I need to go out of my way? Do I need to focus on making a double Liger Dancer? If I do, that's when you're going to be bumping up your Fractals. That's when you're going to be bumping up your Tankies and then making sure that they are your priority. If you feel that one Liger Dancer will get the job done because the matchup you're facing, they don't play Underworld Goddess, they don't play a Kaiju, they don't play a way to out it, then you can rely a little bit more on making the Baguska with the Liger Dancer play as well. So that's it for the entire monsters, apart from the hand traps, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. We're then playing 3 Lunalight Masquerade. So during the main phase, if this was activated this turn, you get to send a Lunalight monster from the deck to the grave. If you fusion summon a Lunalight monster, you get to add a polymerization from the grave or banishment back to the hand, and then discard a card. And if you do, once, if you fusion summon a Lunalight monster this turn, you can also banish monsters from the graveyard as material, which is really good because it basically gives the deck its own power bond. The benefit of something like this is you're going to be sending Silverhound. Silverhound gets you into Gold Leo, and happy days, here we go. 2 Tenki, again, like, I'm still messing around with the ratios, whether I want 3 Tenki. Like, if you go Tenki into Fractal and they go Droll, you're in like, okay, I lose a lot of advantage. Whereas if you're able to go Fractal, send first, and then do Tenki much later on, you don't really need to worry about Droll as heavily. So that's kind of the premise behind that, but again, adapt it to your environment and your playstyle. 2 Perfume, 1 Polymerization, 1 Lunalight Fusion. There are just times where you need to be able to get the search of a Lunalight Fusion, which can be really important rather than going for a monster. And I am main decking 1 Heavy Polymerization. Now this will make a little bit more sense once you see the fact that I'm also main decking Triple Tactic Thrust. Now I haven't decided if I want Thrust to be a 3 of or a 2 of right now. It's really going to be a bit more dependent on the environment. And what I mean by that is, because you're always going to trigger Canines, you're always going to make Canines live, they're always going to play into Thrust. And when I can go, cool, Thrust, grab me Heavy Polymerization, that's when you're going to be in a bit of a position, because yes, you'll burn a lot of life points, and you have to be very, very careful, because if you're up against Borgar will burn you the damage and then just finish your turn off. So that's going to suck. So you do need to be using a little bit of common sense on that one. But the idea is, if my opponent plays during my turn, because I want to get double Liger Dancer, or I just want to get 1 Liger Dancer, I go, okay, cool, well, I'll skip all of my hard work and steps. You've just made it so much easier for me. Heavy Polymerization, pay those life points, get the big monster down, and then you're pretty much in a position where it's like, unless you have burn damage, I'm going to win this duel, and then you move on to the next one. So it's something that I didn't want to like fully focus on, which is why there's not 3 Triple Tactics Thrust. But then you do have the options that if you don't want to go for a Heavy Polymerization, you can also go for your other power spell in the form of the Triple Tactic Talent. And it does give you direct access to set your Dominus Impulse, which I think is one of the best benefits of being able to play a deck like Lunalight in this current format. Carrying on with the other power spells, we've got the 1 Foolish Burial and the 1 Caught by the Grave. And then for the hand traps, 3 Ash Blossom. I decided to cut this down to do a 2 and a 2. Now, I don't know if that's right or not as of yet, but the way I kind of looked at it was, I didn't want the deck to be 43 cards. Like, 42 kind of seems to be my limit on a deck, unless, like, because when I get to 43, I'm like, I might as well put it to 45. And then once I get to 45, I'm like, I might as well put it to 50. And if you're getting into those particular elements, it means that the deck still has room to be fine-tuned down. I didn't want to play loads of non-engine, and like basically what I've done is that's where the Thrust comes in. So the Thrust is the 3rd Fluolos and the 3rd Perulia. The kind of one of the ones that I want to focus on going first. I want to be able to go for the Liger Dancer because that's how my job is going to be made so much more easier with a deck like this. Go first, set up the Liger Dancers, that's going to help me out. It's only when you are then forced to go second that you need to be able to rely on cards like the Perulia or the Fluolos, and in the current format that we're in, both of these are going to be very, very useful. You can also, if you are massively fearful of K9 or K9 and Dracatal, or you know you're going to be facing K9 and Dracatal and you see these in your hand, you can drop these during your starting play. So you go draw phase, drop a Perulia, drop a Fluolos. Obviously, more so the Fluolos for the K9, so it's Fluolos for the Dracatals, and then a Perulia for the K9s. Now, you're not going to get a huge amount of advantage, but the idea would be is that you just trade your Perulia for the summon of the Azuna. You would trade your Fluolos for the summon of the XEs that they decide to go into of their choosing. You would then obviously trade the Fluolos for the fusion monster that they go through with the Dracatals. So you're basically trying to trade 1-for-1s in that one. Now, I'm not saying that's the whole reason that you would do that. I'm just saying that those are the options that if you know you're against them and these cards are going to be bricks in your hand, they're not going to be used for fusion material or anything else, you just go, cool, ditch and go. The last like monster hand trait play is the 1 Nibiru, just because we're going to be playing to search this with Gallant Granite, and then 3 infinite impermanence, Dominus Impulse. Now I know the temptation is to play infinite impermanence for the pure fact that this then becomes a destroy as well, but I kind of felt that if you are relying on your hand to be imperm plus a Dominus Impulse, it was quite like kind of leaning a little bit more to it. I didn't know what I would want to take out for that particular route of play. The other thing that I did consider, and I was playing before I put the Thrust package in, is I was on Foolish Barrel of Goods with the Lunalight Serenade Dance, which kind of sets up your Dominus Impulse, because you'd go Foolish Barrel of Goods, send the Serenade Dance, but then you're going to banish the Serenade Dance anyway. Honestly, I felt that it could be sacrificed, which is why I've kind of taken it out and gone for, even though it's a starter, and that kind of makes you want to be able to go first, unless you wanted to sacrifice a Ash Blossom, which you will give your opponent draws, but honestly, the way that I kind of looked at it was, I shouldn't really be using Ash Blossoms on Perulias and Fluolosses unless I feel they're going to draw it out to my plays. And what I mean by that is, it's like, I let you take the Fluolos and the Perulia challenge, because if you can't out my Liger Dancer, I don't really mind what you draw. It makes no difference to me whatsoever. You can draw as many cards as you want, and I'll still be able to win the duel, because I'll just be sitting there on a Liger Dancer, clear, attack, and that's what you're going to need to do. But you still kind of need it in there, because you never know what they might draw. They might draw into their own impulse, they might draw into the K9 Azunas, everything else. So there are ways that they will disrupt you, so you do have to be a little bit careful. Then for the extra deck, we are playing 2 Lunalight Perfume Dancers. So again, this is another great addition to the deck. Requires 2 Lunalight monsters, so it's definitely an upgrade on the Cat Dancer. And then if this card is Fusion Summoned, you get to add a Lunalight Perfume from the deck to your hand. You can target one other Lunalight card you control, return it to the hand or extra deck, and then you get to special summon a Lunalight monster from the hand. You can banish this card from the graveyard. This turn, all monsters your opponent controls lose attack equal to their original defense. You can only use each effect once per turn. So again, this is another way that you can kind of weaken your opponent's Liger Dancer, because obviously they're unaffected by everything apart from Lunalights, otherwise it would just be too broken. And then the idea is, this is another one of the cards that can return a Tiger from the field back to the hand, and then you go again. 1 Saber Dancer as your aggressor. Now, very rarely can you make it, not very rarely can you make it, you have to go out of your way to make it, and it's like one of the ones that you're using this as a game ender, rather than your Liger Dancer being your towers. So it must be Fusion Summoned. It gains 200 attack for each Beast Warrior monster that you use banished or in the graveyards. Your opponent cannot target it with card effects. During the main phase, except the turn it was sent to the graveyard, you get to banish this card from the graveyard to then target a fusion monster you control. It gains 3,000 attack until the end of the turn. Only use each effect once per turn. 2 Lunalight Liger Dancer. Very rarely will you ever summon these. They're basically just used as a stepping stone to get you into your Mac Daddy Lunalight Liger Dancer. So this requires Lunalight Liger Dancer plus 3 Lunalight monsters. Must be Fusion Summoned with the above fusion materials. Is unaffected by card effects except Lunalight cards. Can make a second attack during each battle phase, and then you get a quick effect once per turn as a soft once per turn. Send a Lunalight monster from your extra deck to the graveyard to destroy all opponents' special monsters. So the idea is you can also send your Saber Dancer. Saber Dancer will then be able to buff this by 3k. It becomes a 68, which is just mental. So as long as you've got Lunalights to send, you're in a good place. And then for the generic links, 1 Almirage, 1 Cross Sheep, 1 SP Little Knight, backed up by your XE's choices of your Daguerres, your Baguska, and your Gallant Granite. Now, the one thing to remember about the Baguska is, because your Lunalight Liger Dancer is unaffected by everything, it's kind of one of these combos where you just end on a Baguska, shifting everything to defense except your Lunalight Liger Dancer, and your Liger Dancer can still activate its effects. And the last one is the Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Tiger King, get you access to Tenki, and then work your plays off the back of that. So that's it for the entire main deck and extra deck. I'll show you a demo side deck, and then I'll show you that double Liger Dancer combo. So, for the side deck, we have got 3 Dunarest of Prankatops, just trying to increase your ability to go second into a yummy field. You could go for Fenrir, but I did quite like the idea that Prankatops is that tad bit stronger. It doesn't have to activate its effects to out something. You just go summon down Prankatops. And I feel the one thing that the Lunalights have is they have that ability to play cards like Dark Ruler. They do have cards to play like Evenly Matched, because if you're able to completely clear your opponent's field, you then have that ability to work your way into the Liger Dancer. The Liger Dancer is just going to be your win con. It's one of the ones where, again, you're putting it on the field. If your opponent can't out it, which is very, very difficult to do, you're going to win the duel by that point. 3 Artifact Lancia, just respecting the K9 Crystron matchup, and of course the Malice Steel. 3 Drown Lockbird, just need to be respectful that this card can still put in a lot of work. And then the spells of choice I've gone with is 3 Book of Eclipse, because ultimately if my opponent targets my cards and I don't plan to use them as XE's material and I want to use them as fusion material, I can flip them face down. It resets all of their stats. It also lets me flip a yummy field face down. It lets me go first. Obviously my Liger Dancer is going to be unaffected, so that will still stay face up, and then I'm flipping everything face down, putting them in face down defense position. They can't proceed to extend their plays. You then go back to your turn, kill the monster you've just flipped face down, and attack, and hopefully you push for an OTK. The last 3 cards are cards to come off the back of the Thrust. So we've got the 1 Dark Ruler No More, one evenly matched, and one that black go that laughs. Now, the reason for these two is purely for the fact of the matter is that you want to be able to activate a card effect against Yummies. Now, if I activate this against Yummies, great, I don't need to worry about Herald. But if I want to activate this against Yummies, the plan is that I would activate a card that threatens the Herald. The Herald then uses its effect. I go, cool, Thrust, get me access to Evenly. Evenly, clear the entire field bar one card, which isn't going to be like ideal because if they're playing it correctly, they'll leave the card that can revive a card or tag out cards. But that's something that you need to remember. Even then, you go Dark Ruler Evenly, they lose everything, and then you'll be able to pick off that last card during main phase 2. So it's just one of these ones that I thought these were good options. You can very easily play 2 Dark Ruler No More or even 3 Dark Ruler No More if you want to increase its consistency. And the Black Goat that lasts is one of the ones that's a bit of a weird one in the side deck. And what I mean by that is, it's a card that could very easily be in the main deck. And in the main deck, it's just one of them ones that if you get hit with a hand trap and you can't search because they're not putting a monster on the field, you go grab a Black Goat that lasts, lock your opponent down for a turn, and go from there. It'll also be a little bit more consistent as well if you're playing Foolish Bearer of Goods. You put that trap card in the graveyard, work your way into a Dominus Impulse, activate that, get the destruction, and then use the banish effect of the Black Goat that laughs. So it's a card that I really like this current format. It's something to be looking into, it's something to kind of take into consideration, but the side deck will really be adapted to your environment and kind of like what you're facing. So that's it for the entire main deck, extra deck, side deck. Now to give you the complete Lunalight experience, I'm going to show you the double Lunar Liger Dancer combo. So you have an idea of what you're trying to put up if you are worried that they're going to out the first Liger Dancer and then you need to go for the second. Be warned, this is like everything to the wall. This is like the pendulum plays of everything to the wall. You break it, you win. You don't break it, I win kind of play. So I'll be back in a second. Here is the 1.5 card double Liger Dancer play. So if you're worried that one Liger Dancer won't get the job done and you want to go for 2, this is how you're going to do it. Now, in this scenario, Tenki can also very easily be direct access to your Fractal, and it can also be accessed through Foolish Burial to kind of get you where you need to go, and you'll see that as we take this combo through. So you're going to start off by activating your Tenki. This will then grab you access to your Fractal. You're going to discard the Fractal and then grab you your Lunalight Silver Hound to be sending it from deck to the grave. You'll then be able to trigger your Lunalight Silver Hounds effect to grab your Gold Leo from the deck. Gold Leo's effect will now trigger, allowing you to add a Lunalight Kaleido Chick from the deck to the hand. And this is why it needs to become a 1.5 card combo, because you don't want to discard the Kaleido Chick, you want to have this in your hand. Again, all of these steps right here, you still need to get the Lunalights to the graveyard, but these steps right here still allow you to have alternatives in the hand. Like if you hard open up a Kaleido Chick, you can kind of skip a step and go straight for the Lunalight Black Sheep and everything else in between. So you discard the random card in your hand, you then go to normal summon down the Kaleido Chick, use Kaleido Chick's effect to send you your Lunalight Black Sheep from deck to the grave, and then utilize the Lunalight Gold Leo's effect to add the sheep from the graveyard back to the hand. So this is where it gets really, really important, because being able to add this back to the hand, you get to discard this card to then grab you your Polymerization. Activate your Polymerization, fusing the Kaleido Chick and the Gold Leo to get you into your Lunalight Perfume Dancer. You'll now be able to trigger Perfume Dancer's effect and of course the Kaleido Chick's effect in the graveyard. So you get to add back Polymerization from the grave, and then you also get to add your Lunalight Perfume. Activate your Lunalight Perfume to target a Lunalight monster in the graveyard and special summon it, being your Kaleido Chick. Then use Kaleido Chick's effect to send from your extra deck to the graveyard your Lunalight Leo Dancer. So that's where you're just going to be able to net even more advantage. Now what you want to be able to do is you then want to be able to utilize... So utilizing the Lunalight Perfume Dancer, you get to return the Kaleido Chick from the field to the hand, which is great. And then you get to special summon a Lunalight monster from the hand. So we're going to be able to special summon down our Lunalight Kaleido Chick again, using its effect again, and send your Lunalight Yellow Martin from the deck to the graveyard. Then what you're going to do is you're going to link these two together and you're going to go into a cross sheep. So again, you're in a really good position because you now get your cross sheep. You've got your graveyard pretty much full with all the Lunalight names that you're going to need in order to progress your plays. At this point right here, you want to utilize the graveyard effect of your Lunalight Perfume Dancer to discard a card and then add a Lunalight monster from the deck to the hand. So you're going to discard this Poly, banishing this, and the Lunalight monster you're going to want to grab will be your Lunalight Wolf. Then what you're going to do is you're going to scale up your Lunalight Wolf. I probably put Tenki in the wrong place. You probably want to make sure it doesn't go into a pendulum zone, but keep that in mind. Activate your Wolf. You can now use Wolf's effect to fuse by banishing from the graveyard, which is where you're going to get your first Lunalight Liger Dancer. So you want to make sure you banish your Leo Dancer and then 3 Lunalights of your choosing, but keep in mind, you want to make sure that you kind of keep the Martin in the graveyard, so don't banish the Martin. So we'll get rid of Gold Leo, Black Sheep, and the Perfume Dancer. Don't worry, you're going to get rid of everything later on, but the Martin you're going to still need to be able to loop back to the field. So you're then going to be able to go into your Liger Dancer. This in turn will trigger the Cross Shoots effect to revive it from the graveyard. Now what you're going to do, trigger off the cross sheet, bring back your Kaleido Chick. Kaleido Chick's effect is going to trigger. You're going to want to send your second Lunalight Liger Dancer, and that's how you're going to get everything going. Then you want to use the Martin's effect in the graveyard. You're going to return the wolf back to the hand, summon itself back to the field, and then overlay both of these, going into a Gallant Granite. Use Gallant Granite's effect, detach the Martin to grab you your Nibiru, and then you're going to link off your Gallant Granite plus your Cross Sheep and go into an SP Little Knight. So you've got that as a disruption setup as well. And then the final thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to activate your Lunalight Wolf. You're then going to use his effect again because soft once per turn, banishing your Lunalight Liger Dancer plus your Kaleido Chick and your Martin, now that it's utilized its effect, and your Silverhound, to get you into a second Liger Dancer. Now, obviously, you've sacrificed the negation of your Silverhound, you've sacrificed your recurrence for later on, for the pure fact that you're going to get into 2 Liger Dancers. It's going to be nearly impossible for your opponent to break this, and you have a Nibiru for follow-up, which would not affect these 2 cards. So in an ideal scenario, what you're trying to do is you're going to go SP Little Knight, banish itself and one other monster your opponent controls, and then you can utilize Nibiru. You still have the destruction of their entire field twice, because this is soft once per turn. It's absolutely insane. And for those of you that are a little bit curious, so before we get that question of, well, shouldn't Martin be banished? Martin was used as XYZ materials. When it's used as an XYZ material, it's not a monster leaving the field, it's a material being detached, so it doesn't actually get banished, which is the great little loophole of cards like that. So that's it for the entire combo. Hopefully this has given you a bit of an insight on how you can double Lunalight Liger Dancer. In the scenario, if we re-round this a little bit and you didn't need a second Lunalight Liger Dancer, rather than going Gallant Granite at that particular point, you could actually just go into a Baguska, and you can just sit on a cross sheet plus a Liger Dancer plus a Baguska if you wanted to, and kind of go from there. So you still have ways to do it. You can still even use Wolf and then fuse into another one of your Lunalights, but it really kind of is up to you. The only difference is that when you try and do Wolf at that point, remember that you're going to have 2 materials locked under your locked under the Baguska, so the only extender you could go into would be another Perfume Dancer, and you would just use that as like link material to get rid of that, and the cross sheet to go into SP Little Knight. But that's entirely up to you. I'd probably be in a much better position to leave the wolf in the hand at that particular point. Do you have this as a follow-up or a crackback should your opponent out that particular field with your Baguska on the field? But I feel that this is like the best end field that this deck can possibly do. It doesn't, unfortunately, play through every particular hand trap interaction, but that's just risk and reward. Like, if you want to be going for this combo, you need to know how to deviate as well. If your opponent is burning through their hand resource, at the very least, you should be putting them in a position where they've burnt through enough hand resource that they can't then completely clear the Liger Dancer off. So you still want to make sure that at the end of the day, you're getting at least 1 Liger Dancer, and that's when you're going to be able to benefit the most. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you do have any questions, by all means, please put in the comments down below. I will be more than happy to answer them. For now, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.